Di, very good morning to you.
Good morning to you, sir.
Now, it sort of beggars belief, this story, for me. I mean, I don't know what you can tell me about the people that protect the Prime Minister, but surely to God, the Prime Minister, if he has a residence outside of number 10 Downing Street, would expect it surely to be watched at least, wouldn't he?
Well, you're absolutely right. I used the word gobsmacked to an interview yesterday, and I remain gobsmacked as to why this could have happened in the first place. Surely those responsible for protecting our Prime Minister, and I say if we can't protect him or members of the royal family, what hope for the rest of us? Well, frankly, there isn't much hope if the standard of response by North Yorkshire and their Assistant Chief Constable thinks that's okay, then he and I live on a different planet. Didn't they realise that following the Prime Minister's remarks regarding the giving of licences to the North Sea, etc., that there might be some kind of disruption? Didn't anybody think outside the box? Now, security for our Prime Minister should be on many, many different layers. Some of them I can talk about, some of them I can't, obviously. But this is rudimentary. There should be outer protection, semi-inner protection, and the whole house should be protected. If they can't have a police officer there 24/7, then surely in today's technology age, you have a 24/7 alarm camera system. You know, most of us have some similar systems now in our home, and yet it would appear North Yorkshire Police, the Home Office, whoever's in charge overall of protection, didn't seem to think that was necessary or reasonable. It beggars belief, and if I was the Chief Constable or his or her Assistant Chief Constable, I would hang my head in shame.
Yes.
In fact, I would discipline them.
Well, quite, because one of the more shocking aspects of this is not only was there not anybody there, but it took them more than 2 hours to get there.
It beggars belief, as you said. It is appalling. I can't remember, other than when Fagan got into the Queen's bedroom, and I hasten to add I wasn't in charge then.
Thank God for that.
I can't think of a more serious potential. And it's not because of these protesters. They wouldn't do any harm, and they've got the publicity they like. But it's the fact that a terrorist could have got in and done whatever he or she wanted. You will remember the Brighton bombing. I certainly do, as a young inspector.
Yes, absolutely.
At the time. You know, these people can plant devices and they can go off when the Prime Minister and his family are there. This is an indictment of the most serious scale that I can remember against not only this Prime Minister, but others. It is appalling.
Yeah.
The
other thought I had, Di, and I'm sure I'm not giving anybody any ideas before anybody accuses me of that, but, you know, if the house is unattended at all times, what's to stop, you know, some clever kind of, you know, James Bond-like figure from the Russian embassy or from the Chinese Secret Service from somehow gaining entry and putting a load of bugs in the house?
Well, you've said that. It's just security should be like an onion. It should be on layer upon layer on layer. The Home Office have a specialist team. The police have specialist teams. The now, well, it used to be special branch, have the technical expertise, I would hope. But also that you've got to apply intelligence. Intelligence is graded information, and you've got to apply common sense. Now, that's a rare word in policing today, common sense. It is appalling, and I don't think enough people have made enough fuss about the sheer incompetence of North Yorkshire Police. Now, if they can justify why it took 2 hours to respond, then I'll eat my words. But so far, I haven't even heard an apology.
No, they're all kind of blaming each other. You know, I don't know what's going on. I mean, presumably the North Yorkshire Police will say, well, we thought there was some kind of prime ministerial Downing Street detail on this, but obviously there wasn't, which is also baffling to me.
Well, it's baffling to me too, and clearly coordination between North Yorkshire, but it's not just our Prime Minister, it's the Home Secretary, the Foreign Secretary, the Chancellor, ex-MPs. Surely now this current Home Secretary, KC as she is, how she got to be a KC that quickly, and what they lack is basic common sense, an old style. Let's think outside this proverbial box and say, what if? And then you get specialist units like the SAS to test you, and that's how you discover. Now, Greenpeace have done everybody a favour, But it's not just the Prime Minister. It should apply to every member of Parliament, because we know some of them are at risk, particularly from the lunatic fringe we allow in this country.
Yeah.
And whether that's a lunatic protest, as I regard some of them, or a lunatic so-called terrorist, most of them, right or left, are lunatics in the first place, otherwise they wouldn't do what they do. Don't they think these things could happen? And don't they test their own systems? Now, you have highly paid chief constables, deputy chief constables, assistant chief constable, Uncle Tom Cobley and all. The deputy assistant commissioner down in London, who's in overall command, is paid £250,000 a year.
Yeah.
Has he ever visited? I walk the shop floor as a boss.
Right.
That's the way you realise if you're doing the right thing or not. When did this lot last walk the shop floor?
Well, I'm looking still for somebody in the public sector in a position of some authority to actually know what their job is and whether they actually can do it or not. And the answer, I'm afraid, is I still haven't found anyone.
Well, we keep promoting people out of sheer incompetence. That seems to be the level. Or if you've been to university and you've got a degree in old cobblers.
Yeah.
But anybody who's got that practical operational skill is bypassed when it comes to these senior posts.
Unbelievable.
Half the country now are led by people, male and female. Most of them have never done operational. They've never been in a riot. They've never combated terrorism. They've never carried a gun, driven a car fast. None of these qualifications do they have to realise what you need to have when you're leading men and women. Most men and women want to be properly led in the police service. Sadly, they're not anymore.
No. Very, very true. Sad but true. Di, brilliant. Absolute common sense as ever from you. Thank you. Di Davies, former head of Rural Protection.